Revenge films.
As a single man, my husband used to wear old and shabby clothes until we got married. He didn't really care about his clothes, even when he wore something with a hole in it. I told him that I didn't want to see him looking so shabby, but he was like, meh, really? I go to a hairdresser every other month, but my husband thinks that it is a waste of money. He shaved his head so we didn't have to get a haircut. That's why he is bald all the time. When we were dating, even though he seemed not to have a lot of money, he insisted on buying me dinner and tickets to famous theme parks. I used to tell him off saying that, "You can't afford it," and I usually paid for us. After we got married, he trusted me to be in charge of our finances. His monthly income was only $1,900 after tax, so we were not really well off at all. But I was very attracted to his nice personality. Plus, I had a stable job, so I didn't care about money. As I started to manage our finances, I asked him, "Is it okay to give you $100 a month to spend on what you like?" He immediately said,
"No problem,"
without arguing. As a newlywed, it was painful to see my husband in shabby clothes, so I bought him pretty much a brand new wardrobe, reasonably priced, of course. My husband said something like,
"I don't want to get rid of my old stuff. I've had it all for 10 years, you know?"
But I replied, "You've worn them for 10 years. That's enough." So I got rid of all of his old clothes. We lived in my husband's cheap and shabby apartment, which he first rented before he met me. It was too small for both of us, so with our combined income, we could afford somewhere better. So I said to him, "Don't you think this apartment is too small for both of us? There is no room for us to put a crib if we have a baby, so why don't we move to a place a little better and bigger?" He was against my suggestion, saying, "If the rent becomes higher, we won't be able to afford it with my wages." We had too much stuff in the small apartment, and I told him that I couldn't stand it anymore. He insisted that, "I don't earn enough to pay higher rent. Why don't we both compromise and buy a house?" Huh? How can that be a compromise? He doesn't want to pay any more money. What kind of logic led to that conclusion? I was stunned. I really did not know what he was saying. I mean, money is okay now, but if we have a baby, my monthly income will inevitably drop. I don't know how much the housing loan will be. We won't be able to pay it back. I even explained that no bank will lend us that much money. Then he said,
"Wait till next week."
And he went off out, clutching his bank statement. Of course, I asked him to explain, but he kept on smiling as if there was no problem. That made me even more angry. I still didn't know what to think, but a few days later, my husband came home from work and handed me his bank statement.
"Here you go."
It was a bank statement with a record of his wages. I didn't know what happened, but the amount in the account had gone up by $300,000. Huh? I was stunned by the amount. I never thought I'd see so much money. I checked the numbers again and again, but there it was, $300,000 in the account. How come? My husband's parents passed away before we got married, so it didn't come from them. Maybe he got the money from something illegal? Or he borrowed it from loan sharks? I was seriously worried. Then he opened his mouth.
"I'm a bit well off. Did I not tell you that?"
He then showed me a bank statement of an account which I had never seen. Seeing the statement, I was so nervous as I didn't know what to expect, but there was more than $200,000 in the account. I didn't know what to think, but he continued, not noticing the state I was in.
"I've got about $30,000 worth of Australian dollars and South African rand each. I also have stocks in some American funds that are worth about $100,000.
To my great shock, my husband was not poor at all. He went on and told me that before he met me, he worked so hard day and night. He didn't have time to spend the money he made, so it was sitting there in his account. He invested in some IT stocks, and these stocks went up. But he was fed up with working so much, he wanted to enjoy his life, just earning enough money to live on. He receives enough money from the stocks he has. He told me everything, but as he was explaining it to me, I felt so numb. I didn't know any of that. I thought he was just someone who was naive about money, so he didn't listen to me. Every time I said something like, "We barely made ends meet this month," he didn't seem to worry, saying, "Isn't it fun to be creative and not spending money?" Well, it is a good thing to not waste money, but he just wanted to live off the money he made early on in his life. I was mentally exhausted after hearing that he had so much money. He seemed to have no care in the world, saying,
I wonder if the money I have is enough.
I was like, yes, that's more than enough. But I feel like I've been cheated. I was constantly worrying about our future. Like, what are we gonna do when we have a child and stuff?
Sorry about that. I don't spend money a lot, so I don't have a clue how much we need to raise a child. You think we have enough?
Of course it is enough. I have a good job. I can have maternity leave, and I want to work a lot more when our child gets older, so...
Okay. For the time being, do you think we could buy a house?
No problem. I used to think that my husband was so detached from reality when it came to money, but I would never have imagined that we could afford a house of our own. I was so shocked, but we started to make plans for the new house. I thought, because of the money he made, I need to go back to work immediately after giving birth, and we could only afford to have only one child. But secretly, I wanted 3 kids, as I myself have 2 siblings. So I finally told him my true feelings. He said,
Family of 5. That sounds great.
So we figured that in our new house plan. Since then, things started to happen quickly. When we were not working, we spoke to our estate agent and construction companies and stuff. Soon enough, construction of our new home started. While the house was being built, my husband said to me,
Did you not tell me what you wanted all this time to spare my feelings?
Huh? What do you mean?
You told me the other day that you were worried about money after having a baby.
Oh, that. I mean, I can have paid maternity leave, but I get less money, so it'll be a bit difficult. I thought, I have friends who have kids, and they always say that it's costly to have kids, you know? When you have kids, you can't work the same as before for at least a few years, so I confessed that I had my worries over money. But he assured me that I never have to worry about money and told me we should try and have kids. I said, that sounds great, but I knew we may not have kids when we want them. My longing for a baby grew, and happily, I fell pregnant quickly after. I was hoping to get pregnant fairly quickly, but it was a pleasant surprise for both of us. In order to conceive a child, I thought I needed to plan things and make records of my period and ovulation and stuff. So I checked it, and that was the time I realized that my monthly visit was late, so I used a pregnancy test. I was so happy and said to my husband, who would have thought that I would get pregnant before we started trying more seriously, with a big smile. He replied with a smile, saying, Yeah, it was as if the baby was listening to our conversation. It feels like a miracle to have a wonderful home and a baby in such a short period of time. It is all thanks to you, darling. You worked hard and saved and invested your money wisely. Thank you.
Don't mention it. Plus, don't you think saving money can be fun?
Well, if you push yourself too much, that could be a problem. But there's a lot to learn from it. We will probably need more money in the future, so I'm counting on you. On hearing that, my husband's face beamed with pride as if to say, Count on me! I felt very proud of my husband. Although it is a bit annoying that he kept me in the dark, I suppose I can't complain, as he has made me so happy.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.